This is the most uninteresting man in the world. He goes nowhere without his coffee. He's come here for a modern laptop, but no modern laptop will suffice. So he has found a laptop from 2018, a vintage Lenovo ThinkPad. It's an Intel i5 8350U with 12 gigabytes of RAM. It includes USB-C power, Thunderbolt 3 port, 2 USB super speed ports, 1 HDMI port, and 1 3.5mm headphone mic jack, an SD card reader, and it features a SIM card slot. He has acquired upgrades: one 16GB stick of DDR4 SODIMM RAM, one M.2 Gen 3x4 2TB SSD, and one USB preloaded with Linux. And then he just walks away. No one knows where he went. We are filming something here, and he just walks off the set. What the hell is going on here? Will you get back over here? What's going on? He's fired! We're done!
Welcome everybody back to the video. As you saw, we are going to be upgrading a laptop. Not any old laptop, one of the best laptops to be upgraded or modularized or whatever you want to call it. It's not a modern laptop, and that's the problem with modern laptops. It is a Lenovo T480s. A lot of you are saying, why didn't you get the T480? Because it has a bigger battery, has 2 batteries, has dual channel RAM and all that other stuff. Yes, but it's not as slim though. And mostly I don't really need that kind of, like in a laptop, I need it mostly minimal stuff. So that being said, I'm going to be upgrading it with M.2 2TB Gen 3 and 16 more gigs of DDR4 RAM. And of course, you know what's about to happen. Copy of Linux. So Linux on there again. If it ain't working, maybe Linux will work. Copy of Linux. This Lenovo ThinkPad is the T480s Intel Core i5 8350U 1.7 gigahertz, 12 gigs of RAM, which means it has an 8 gig stick in it because there's 4 gigs already soldered onto the board. And it came with a 256 gigabyte SSD, which we are going to be switching out. It also comes with a Thunderbolt port, USB 3.2 port, HDMI port, obviously power over USB-C as well, along with an SD card reader and another second super speed USB port. And the one thing to note about this version of the T480s, it is not the version with the touchscreen. So don't really use a touchscreen on laptops that often. I don't know how often you do, but I do not. First thing we have to do, we have to get the back off this laptop, which isn't too hard. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws, which is way better than some laptops. Some laptops don't even have screws. Let's get these screws out, everybody. And really it comes down to the philosophy. Like, why wouldn't you want to make a laptop that people can upgrade easily? And obviously, I understand the point from a business economic view. They want you to buy a new laptop. But in practicality, it's just e-waste. It's just a bad deal. Right to repair needs to be more prevalent. More people need to know about it. And laws need to be passed to make sure companies can't do things like they have been with current laptops, making them almost non-upgradable at all. I need 100 of these things. As you can see, everybody, we got our, even though the battery is not external, it is internal and super easy to replace. It's only one little clip here and that's it. Well, 2, 3 little clips, but it's not soldered, which is great. And you can replace this. But Luckily for me, I did a battery test already, and it's actually really great. Actually, I might have been replaced in some way or barely used. Anyway, so what we have to replace is the RAM and this lovely M.2. And we will first do that by getting our new RAM installed first. And what do we have here for our RAM? We have a Samsung 4 gigs. So that would mean I'm wrong. It's 8 gigs that are soldered onto the board, not 4. Okay. So correction there, Phil. All the documentation says 4 gigs that I looked up. So you're right on it. Okay. And people, yes, I know, like, you throw things away, donate things, do whatever, but you never know. So, okay, we ran into a situation recently on our previous video where we could have used some extra hardware. And I used to keep a bunch around, and I moved and I threw away a bunch of stuff and I got rid of a bunch of stuff. But it's always good to keep extra components like this around, because if troubleshooting, if something goes wrong with like a motherboard or something like that, you can swap out components and really isolate where the problem is. So keep things like this around that are working. Now we're going to get into the M.2. This is a 2 terabyte Gen 3 by 4 by Silicon Power. I have never had a problem with this company. I've bought a handful of SSDs and stuff from them. They're pretty good. So let's get this installed. And a quick little note here, people, as we're filming this. So this already has Linux on it, which I've done some testing and all that stuff. You can keep this around, okay? And the reason why, so say if you just want to experiment with Linux, or if you need a copy of Windows for your laptop and you know how to do this really fast. So you can swap out drives that are already ready, already formatted to run with the system, and just swap them out, and all of a sudden you have a Windows machine, or you have a Linux machine if you don't want to dual boot or run hypervisors. As you can see, we have a nice new M.2, 2 terabytes, Gen 3 by 4. We have some new RAM, which is 16 gigs of RAM, which actually puts us higher than I thought it was going to be. It's going to be at 24 gigs of RAM, which is the documented limit for this laptop itself. Although I did see some guys I was talking to on Reddit that actually got this system running up to 32 gigs of RAM. But I didn't really want to chance that, because if it didn't boot, then I have to return. Yeah, it's a whole process. And I don't need any more than that anyway. I'm not doing video editing on this or anything. If it's going to be video editing, it's going to be very light video editing. So this is going to be fine. Now let's get the back on this laptop, boot it up, make sure everything's being recognized by the system, and then install Linux. As you can see, we had a successful post, and everything is showing up. It shows our processor still. We do have now 24 gigs of RAM, which is great. So now the next step is Linux. All right, so the first thing we want to do, we have our Linux system booted up, but we have to do an update first though. It did some updates as it was installing, but you know, No, we don't need Firefox. So we're going to do sudo apt update. Enter our super secret password. And there we go. And now obviously to install these packets, we want to go ahead and do sudo apt upgrade. And yes, we want to. Okay, everybody. So as you can see, everything is running pretty great. We've done an update to the whole system. Running NeoFetch right here, showing everything on, and obviously it's showing everything that's recognized in the system, along with our 24 gigs of RAM. And system obviously is running pretty great. It's only actually using right now 8.5% of the CPU, and that's mostly just running the monitoring software, really. And that's HTOP and BTOP, and BTOP obviously is also recognizing all of the RAM as well, and it shows there's 21 gigs of free RAM. Yeah, it seems like as of right now, our system is running great and quite efficient. And we've done this actually all on, we actually didn't charge the battery before this video. And we still have 4 hours and 52 minutes of battery. So, and that's with it not completely charged. Anyway, so let's go ahead and install Steam. Okay, everybody, we have Steam installed, and we're going to go ahead and install one of my favorite games I like playing. It's a side-scroller, been around for a while, Celeste. Okay, it is ready to go. So now we are going to get our controller, a lovely GameSir controller. I do recommend this controller. We might do a video on this controller, but it is a really great $20-ish controller with tons of buttons, even back buttons and hell effects, analog, so it is not liable to stick drift. We'll begin a new game. Oh yeah, I forgot you don't have the fucking jump thing yet. Like, I'm trying to do that. So as you can see, everything's running pretty well on this laptop. I have a whole bunch more storage I can use. I'm not going to get into all the other programs I'm going to use because I'm going to use some stuff to write code. I'm also going to use some stuff to mess with LLMs and whatnot. If you don't know what that is, it's AI. But as far as I'm sure a lot of people just know about Steam. And if you're wondering, if you install Steam onto a device, a Linux device, there is actually a little penguin icon up on top here. If you click that, it'll show you all the games that natively run on Linux. Granted, you can go ahead and change that and then turn on Proton, the compatibility layer, and you can see what games will run on Linux. You can also set up a custom playlist of games that are rated for running well on the Steam Deck. And if they run well on the Steam Deck, that means they're going to run well on your Linux machine, usually. I personally, I'm not sure how Linux Mint does for an equivalent of running on Steam games. If you want a really good comparison, install Bazite. But yeah, that's a really great way, and obviously tons of the games are running on Linux because of the Steam Deck. So, no doubt. But I'm going to be pretty much just playing Celeste. I might play some Final Fantasy VI, the Pixel Perfect Edition, and some other games. But there's no way I'm going to be running like Squad or Insurgency or any of those games. It's a little too intense for the Intel integrated graphics on this system. But that's not what I bought the system for. I have a desktop at home that can run those games with no problem. So anyway, this has been this update, and this is a very, very functional modular laptop if you want a modular laptop. Obviously, you can go ahead and get a laptop from Framework. They're completely modular. Somewhat pricey to an extent, but they are well worth it considering you can just mix and match and change the parts out. You can completely change the motherboard if you have to. Absolutely great. But an older ThinkPad, this is from 2018, And it definitely feels like running a modern laptop. It is very snappy. And now it has 24 gigs of RAM. It is very, very snappy. 2 gigs of storage. I'm not going to really need more than that. Anything more than that, I'm going to be running external storage anyway. And if I do video editing, I'm usually editing off external storage anyway. So that's not really, I'm not going to be putting anything onto it. So that being said, I do recommend if you do want like a laptop on the go, don't go ahead and spend money at the store, $500, $600, $700. Some of those laptops are complete garbage for that price. And I can tell you, if you did a comparison to this laptop with the minimal upgrades that cost me less than $100 to do, and I only paid $100 for this laptop itself on eBay, it's going to perform way better. It's going to be more durable, last you longer, just in general. And also, one thing I didn't mention in this video, it does have a fingerprint reader. I'm not really, I might activate it, might use it. Not really a concern of mine. I've never been into fingerprint readers that much. So yeah, if you want a cheap laptop that's going to pretty much outperform some of the current laptops, go to eBay and find yourself a ThinkPad. Thank you for watching. We will see you on the next video.